What's the hubbub? Is the DCU flopping? Is Zack Snyder making The Dark Knight Returns now? I'll give my Clayface new trailer reaction too. And hey, how about a new Lanterns trailer as well? I've also got some Zack Snyder bro channels I'm reacting to and debunking on. Let's get into it. Peter Safran, who serves as the co-chairman and co-CEO of DC Studios at Warner Bros. Discovery, recently commented again on Supergirl. He stated, "Obviously you saw it this weekend. Not everything's gonna work, but we don't judge the success of our 10-year plan based on any individual project along the way. We're expanding the tonal range of the DC universe, and Clayface does just that." End quote. Supergirl, just the second movie of the new DC universe, was featuring a mid-level superhero of a specific Tom King adaptation. Besides the Restore Zack SnyderVerse bros, who were dead set on hating it before it came out, there was a significant anti-woke subhuman subculture that determined anyone right-leaning politically should be warned of its woke messaging. Unfortunately for the movie, it was pretty good by most accounts, but a large portion of the audience were suppressed from going. The notable channels who do that, like Critical Drinker and Nerdrotic, can't even point to what's bad or woke about it. It was railroaded by fake outrage. The anti-woke influencers really hurt it, as we saw the audience that did show up actually enjoyed it. To Peter's point, it is a 10-year plan. Honestly, in 10 years of the DCEU Snyderverse, Supergirl was quite a bit better than most of its movies. There should be a level of patience, as we are out of the superhero boom era now. At one point, in the peak days, even mediocre superhero movies could do well. Now it's not that simple or easy when trying to bring back a genre basically. Even Marvel with its tentpoles are relying heavily on nostalgia from when it was most successful. The Avengers Doomsday trailer essentially said, "Hey, we know you'll make this a billion-dollar film if we bring back the cast from when we were at our peak." Newer Marvel movies that aren't tentpoles haven't fared nearly as well. Superman beat all 3 Marvel releases in a rebuild launch premiere. Maybe, just maybe, the anti-woke brigade can start judging, at least after seeing the movies first. People have to catch on to the fake outrage by them eventually. I hope to see that grift fizzle out as soon as possible. Of course, where Zack Snyder only fans meet MAGA enters the constant Restore SnyderVerse channels now. They found they could tap into an audience hanging on to the dead Snyderverse while simultaneously worrying about all things woke and what's masculine or not. It's a strange phenomenon. No matter the size of the Snyder Bros, they are a pretty concentrated group online. They basically hop into any YouTube video on the DCU to cry about restoring. That's why we even talk about the Snyderverse at all, to point out we have an active DCU, yet they spend time dunking on anything Gunn/DCU and even lying, as if that will bring him and that verse back. Spoiler alert, it won't. Recently, all Zack Snyder-centric channels have covered him saying he would make the Dark Knight Returns movie, to quote, "when they let us," and the fake hype they are trying to give that on channels growing subscribers, through Snyder Bros essentially, is out of hand. Mr. Phenom, for example, basically doubled his subscriber count in the last 6 months, from preaching to the Gunn hater Snyder bro-loving crowd.
I can totally believe that James Gunn got booed off stage. And from what everybody says is he has a big ego. And I'm sure it hurt that ego bad once he heard them boos.
Take a look. They are all trying to make this into a story.
You have Zack Snyder returning and finishing his arc, which globally people want it. So I think that is a big when they let us.
And it's really not. Zack is not under contract for any DC movies. He's just always actively campaigned to direct a standalone, frame-accurate, R-rated film adaptation of Frank Miller's iconic comic, The Dark Knight Returns. He envisions this as his ultimate superhero finale. Snyder's previous involvement with the character began when he adapted themes and imagery from The Dark Knight Returns for the Snyder DC Extended Universe. He cast Ben Affleck as an older and world-weary Batman in the 2016 film Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. It's kind of a retread to go there, really, and I wouldn't be that excited. At least it would be free of the horrible Eisenberg Lex Luthor, though. Savvy. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below on this. Also, please subscribe. Personally, I'm excited about new projects like Lanterns and Clayface around the corner before Man of Tomorrow. Like Peter Safran said, it's about expanding the tonal range. Snyder Bros complain they want dark and gritty. Lanterns has some of that with its detective edge. Did you guys catch the new footage of that as well, by the way? I'll be covering the new Lanterns trailer in depth on the next video. I wanted to spend some time on Clayface for this Hubbub edition. It certainly has that atmosphere the Snyder Bros should say is peak, as visually it could fit right in with Matt Reeves' verse actually. Now it's a problem? Oh, because the DCU is stretching itself out for more than one vibe, I see. Superman had its own tone to be more colorful, vibrant, and comic booky. Guess what? That tracks with the character. A movie like Clayface fits a different tone within the DCU. Now the Snyder-only fans are basically dunking on it as being a flop, because smoke and mirrors once again to go negative as hell. We're talking a movie with a budget of $40 million. If they market it properly, even attaching it to Batman's world, I'd say there is enough of a fan base to check it out. Also, let's not forget, it leans into the horror genre also, which has been hot lately. Aaron Fischer, who has a Restore the SnyderVerse channel, just tried to say Peter Safran is making excuses for it already.
Here we go. The studio is already making excuses for Clayface not doing well. And this comes from comingsoon.net, and it says DC Studios isn't worried about Clayface not meeting their box office expectations. And the title is Why DC Isn't Worried About Clayface's Box Office Numbers After Supergirl Bomb. And what it comes down to is they specifically came out, Peter Safran was talking about in the whole 10-year plan that they have, these one-off failures are no big deal in the scope of the 10-year plan. That's what it comes down to. They're already making excuses.
I couldn't disagree more. He's actually stating why he's optimistic it can perform decently. That is the opposite of an excuse. Safran stated to quote, "It leans into horror and psychological thriller in a way that definitely differentiates it from more traditional superhero entries while still being anchored in what I would say is a recognizable character." Further, he stated that horror remains one of the most reliable and popular genres with moviegoers after the success of movies like Sinners, Obsession, and Backrooms. End quote. So we have DC, Batman, and horror relation. I'm pretty sure we can blow past the break-even on such a budget. But we know, just find or make up the negative angle, manipulate narratives, and you too can be a Snyder bro. As for my thoughts on the Clayface trailer, I like that it peeks a bit into the order of events to the lead-up of his full transformation, teased at the end of it. It's a very effective trailer as you know you're getting a look at Gotham, which pegs this in a DC Batman world for audiences. You can see there's a plane sequence that I believe will be a standout scene. I really think there's a balance to not giving away too much while teasing enough for interest. What makes the trailer especially effective is its focus on character. Rather than presenting Clayface as simply a monster, it shows his fear, desperation, and loss of identity, making him a sympathetic figure before he fully embraces his villainous side. Combined with disturbing transformation sequences and a serious horror tone, the film looks more like a psychological thriller than a traditional comic book blockbuster, offering audiences something fresh in a genre that is often criticized for feeling repetitive. For James Gunn's DC universe, Clayface represents exactly the kind of creative approach he has promised. Instead of making every project feel the same, Gunn is building a shared universe where each film has its own distinct genre and style. While Superman is a hopeful, inspirational adventure, Clayface leans into horror, proving that the DCU can tell a wide variety of stories while remaining connected. The film also expands Gotham's mythology without relying on Batman as the central focus, allowing lesser-known characters to take the spotlight. And here's the funny part. For years, some of the loudest Snyderverse supporters insisted they wanted DC to be darker, scarier, and more mature. Now that a genuinely dark, R-rated horror movie centered on a Batman villain is on the way, some of those same voices seem determined to find reasons to dislike it anyway. Apparently, Give Us Dark DC came with an invisible asterisk. It's almost as if the request wasn't just for darker movies, it was for darker movies made by one specific director. Overall, the trailer suggests that Clayface could become one of the most unique and critically acclaimed entries in the new DCU. If the film delivers on its promise of emotional storytelling, practical effects, and genuine horror, it will not only elevate an underrated Batman villain, but also reinforce James Gunn's vision of a diverse, filmmaker-driven cinematic universe where every project has its own identity. Whether you're a Gunn fan, a Snyder fan, or just a fan of good movies, this looks like the kind of project that's worth judging after watching it, not before the opening credits roll. There's clearly enough variety that DCU is attempting to establish to say they aren't being one note. Which, let's be honest, part of the DCEU SnyderVerse failing was they couldn't let their Superman exist in that Man of Steel film realm. By that I mean, once they brought Batman in, they tried to fit him into a Batman world, and it didn't work. Batman vs. Superman pretty much made Superman too much like Batman, and we lost contrast. A mistake I don't believe the DCU will make. There is a reason DC moved away from the SnyderVerse for good. If you want Zack back, it's never going to be under your demands, Snyder simps. I still think an Infinite Crisis movie is the only way to go if Snyder and Gunn wanted to work together on a project. They don't have a problem with each other. It's the Snyder Stan segment acting toxic that is the problem. They are trying to destroy an active Gunn-verse to bring back a dead one. The hostile takeover attitude is not something Gunn will play with. If you Snyder riders wouldn't have been toxic, maybe they'd already be working on something to bring him in for Elseworlds DCEU or another project. You clowns just can't accept it's over and been over for years. There is no restore and replace scenario. Land. He had his time. Let it go. Get on the DCU train or get left behind. Zack is not under any DC movie contracts and has nothing slated. Gunn and the DCU have projects continuing to release. Keep crying. It's one thing to have enjoyed a previous take on characters, but your Snyder bro toxicity in wanting to destroy the next creative in charge and new DC-verse is rather shameful. The DCEU SnyderVerse ended, but every day you talk DCU to dunk on it. So no, we aren't letting that pass on the hubbub. We're pushing back on your nonsense and misinformation. We're saying it flat out. If you only accept Snyder in charge, you aren't even a DC fan, as DC is bigger than any director and lives on after multiple iterations. Now, please leave some comments, drop a like, and subscribe to help out the Hubbub community. With that, it's today's Hubbub. No SnyderVerse, no problem. Thank you for watching.